churches of Great Britain stand for an essential element in the land we love. Towering silently above the surging traffic, or peacefully watching over the villages of the countryside, they keep alive some of the best features in our national heritage. Britons believe, for instance, that every human being is entitled to a fair deal, to kindly consideration when in trouble, and to sympathy and care when old age or sickness come to burden daily life. It is the churches which hold these standards steadily before our eyes. In this film, we shall see the practical activities of the churches. Because their members believe that everybody matters, rich or poor, old or young, they are working busily night and day to bring fullness of life to all those whom they can serve.
The story could as well begin in any of Britain's great cities, and so we'll start in London's vast dockland, where men of all nations are forever arriving and departing, and the population is so great. In the heart of this area stands the Missions to Seamen, which, although organized by the Church of England, offers a welcome and provides a haven for all denominations. It is equally famous as the Flying Angel Mission. After perilous weeks at sea, the friendly hospitality awaiting the seamen is something never to be forgotten. Each man is allotted a comfortable private room and personally received by one of the chaplains. Every amenity is provided for relaxation and companionship. Billiard tables frame the ever-open canteen. A profusion of papers and magazines awaits men deprived of current news whilst on the high seas. This is the Jellicoe Hall, equally popular as a cinema, theatre, or gymnasium. Their spontaneous jollity is proof of the men's appreciation of such facilities and freedom. For those seeking mental recreation, the book room is always available, and the advice of chaplains on what to read is invariably sought. In another section of the mission are the Asiatic quarters, containing dormitories for seamen, where they may rest and worship as they wish. Many strange and interesting types find their way here, and all appreciate a mission so organized as to enable them to live in accordance with their own customs. Separate kitchens are provided, and they do all their own cooking. The mission's launches are ceaselessly busy on the river, visiting ships just arrived, to tend the sick, or to deliver books, magazines, and woolen comforts to crews about to leave. And the center of the mission is the church, offering spiritual strength to its ever-changing congregation of seamen from the four corners of the earth. Parallel with this fine work are the achievements of the free churches in poor districts and industrial areas. One of the largest is the West Ham Central Mission, famous for its great church. In addition to crowded services on Sundays, religious meetings are held once a week, attended by nearly 2,000 women, vivid proof of the popularity of the mission in their midst. For 40 years, this center has been expanding and catering for the people's spiritual, cultural, and physical welfare. Once, the surroundings of the church consisted of ugly scrap heaps like this, but they were transformed into delightful gardens and were called the Queen's Gardens, having been opened by Queen Mary. They form a children's paradise, lawns and flower beds in the midst of an overcrowded world of bricks and mortar are abiding sources of health and joy. Both the very young and the aged share these pleasant grounds, for overlooking the gardens are two attractive houses, eventide and rest a while, providing homes for elderly men and women. This is heaven on earth for poor folk who otherwise might have been compelled to end their days in the workhouse. Perfect taste in decoration and furnishing is evident everywhere, the aim of the founders being to introduce beauty into everyday life. Here are scenes that remind one of the lines, "In the days of my youth I remembered my God, and he hath not forgotten my age." Adjoining is the Hall of Youth, a hive of activity every evening of the week. Here physical and spiritual development go side by side. God, who created me nimble and light of limb, in three elements free to run, to ride, to swim, not when the sense is dim, but now, from the heart of joy, I would remember him. Take the thanks of a boy. The enthusiasm of these young people and the high athletic standard they achieve is a real reward to those responsible for the hall. Nearby is the Children's Church, where the mission began so many years ago. Now it is used exclusively for children's services, conducted mostly by themselves, one of the most impressive achievements of all. For the shaping of the world will be the duty of the next generation. In Settlement House is the heart of this vast undertaking, the center controlling all its ramifications under the guidance of the Reverend Roundtree Clifford, his wife, and his sons. For nearly half a century, these brave people have dedicated their lives to giving aid to the poor and have brought beauty into drab surroundings. In this quiet room, they pray for continued strength to carry on their mission. The healing of the sick is another wonderful example of the practical work of the Church, truly exemplified by the fine Roman Catholic hospital of St. John and St. Elizabeth. This large establishment is of particular interest, for it combines to perfection the work of providing both spiritual and medical aid. A nursing order controls it, and the sisters train nurses to become qualified in every branch of medicine and surgery. Here are the patron saints of the hospital, St. John and St. Elizabeth. It would be hard to find nobler examples of selflessness than these nursing sisters, skilled in healing both mind and body. Perfectly equipped operation theaters symbolize the quiet efficiency of the great organization. It contains several wide, sunlit wards, each in charge of a sister. Patients of all denominations are treated and find that the blending of spiritual aid with medical skill constitutes the perfect treatment. Within the confines of the hospital is the Convent of Mercy, home of the sisters. And in the very center of all stands their beautiful church. From here radiates the spiritual power which fills these brave women with strength and knowledge. Women who have gladly given up their lives to the task of healing others. Side by side with the work of those churches are organizations devoted to the welfare of Jewish people, particularly in the poorer quarters of big cities. Here is but one example, the famous Brady Girls Club. Under the guidance of the synagogues, numerous clubs of this kind are in existence, contributing to the spiritual and physical well-being of young and old alike. This one is under the efficient control of Miss Miriam Moses, a dynamic personality, once mayor of Stepney and now a councillor. All bring their troubles to her and go away without them. Spacious canteens and recreation rooms are packed day and night by people of all ages. A fine nursery is available for all children. Special classes are held in Hebrew as well as in cookery and many cultural subjects. Here they are safe and happy, for the lot of Jewish children in this country is very different from that in lands where they're mocked and victimized from their earliest years. This large modern gymnasium holds classes under expert tuition. Here is a mother's class, learning deportment, grace, poise. Every Friday, the night before the Sabbath, Miriam Moses lights the candles in her study, and by this simple traditional Jewish act, reminds all her people of the deep purpose underlying the club, which is to find in their daily lives a place for spiritual values. Thereby, she links the social activities to the services of the synagogues. Here is a special gathering of youth being held in the great synagogue in the City of London to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the synagogue. The Ark is the central feature, in which are stored scrolls containing the 5 books of Moses. They are written on parchment by hand and are encased in these silver ornaments. They take the form of scrolls instead of books in accordance with ancient tradition. This prayer for the King and Queen and the royal family is read at every service. Here the scrolls are being removed by the minister in order that portions of the Bible may be read from the scrolls of the law. Here the minister is proclaiming to the congregation the unity and holiness of God.
All over our land you will find Britain's churches at work in ways like these. From these quiet sanctuaries rise up day by day the prayers of the multitude. These prayers are filled with thankfulness for the freedom in which we live, freedom to think and worship as our conscience dictates. From such worship comes the inspiration for human service. So through all these varied activities, men and women of all denominations are seeking one great aim, the worship and service of God and the welfare of all his children.